Anybody in the room watch Justified? No? Justified? One guy? Wow. All right, so one person will get this. So I'm Dan. A lot of you guys know me. A little history. Most of you guys know this already, so I'll get by it quickly because the meat is more interesting than this stuff. A lot of us in the industry that work in InfoSec and do stuff like pen testing and auditing and that sort of stuff know about fail. We've all seen fail. Anybody who's been doing this stuff for longer than a year really knows about fail. I've given a lot of talks about failing. I gave one at bar camp, and I think I gave another one at another meetup in town, specifically talking about failing and how we learn and how it makes us know what not to do next time, and how, thanks. Wow. That was good. Yeah. Wait, no. So, did anybody go to DEF CON and see Adam Savage do his fail talk at DEF CON? You like packed the room? Okay. He basically said failure made him the man he is today, and that without being a horrible bag of fail, he wouldn't have been able to be as successful as he is now. The trouble is that there are ways you can fail and it doesn't feel like failing. You can fail and it doesn't hurt, and without that negative reinforcement, you don't know what not to do next time. So we have clients, as a consultant and as an InfoSec person that goes in and tells people, you have to tell them gently that they're failing. When you find yourself in a scenario where you say, yeah, all your shit is owned, and they go, yeah, we don't care, we'll just throw it away and buy new shit, and you go, well, crap. How do you do that? How do you quantify that? How can you show them that it really does matter and it will cost them, even though they're cool about just throwing money at the problem? So you can spot fail pretty easily. Security can just do nothing. Security can be asleep at the job. Security can be, faffing off and not actually working. You could be using security controls that look like they work but don't really work. It's not readily apparent that it's a gigantic flaming bag of fail. This one is probably the most relevant. You can be using security controls that are easily circumvented, or they're feel-good security solutions where it makes you feel good but it doesn't really do anything. And if that's not good enough, you can make it out wider and put some barbed wire on the top, and it'll make you feel even better, but you can still just get around it. Or, one of the scarier ones, you can get 90% of the way and then have the last 10% completely invalidate all of your work. And then conversely, which will also, contribute to the fail, is you can go the opposite direction and go way overboard and have crazy, scary solutions. This one would actually work, though. If we did that, we wouldn't need TSA anymore, I think. So, I did this year. I went to DEF CON and I did the social engineering challenge. If anybody go to Shane's talk yesterday, the social engineering one? Okay, so he's the guy that won the talk, and I'm one of the guys that horribly failed the talk. So there were some stipulations to the contest, and historically I had spent a lot of time doing talks on like NLP and kinesics and how to read people and looking at somebody's face and saying, oh, they're twitching funny, you can tell they're pissed off, or examining vocal intonations to decide whether somebody has any confidence in what they're saying when you talk to them and ask them pointed questions, things like that. You can't really use a lot of that stuff remotely. I mean, to some degree you can, but not so much. So we weren't allowed to contact the client or the target in any way. So that all of my social engineering stuff that I had spent so many years researching went right out the window. It presented a problem because my particular target was a very large retail entity where probably 5% or 10% of their actual workforce worked in the office to do the business stuff, and the other 15,000 employees or 18,000 employees were all people that worked in the retail stores. So the 150 people that worked in the business, they're used to loss prevention because their stuff gets stolen all the time, and they're pretty good at securing some of their stuff. Well, I didn't have any budget for this, unfortunately, so I couldn't spend a lot of money on it. But I did find a whole crap ton of stuff involving their technology that came in very handy down the line. The target, they own an entire /16. Rad. Point showdown at that /16 and find several hundred hosts that are listening. That's kind of cool. Also turns out that Microsoft did a case study on these guys to document how well they employ their Hyper-V technology. Perfect, now I know what their infrastructure is. I found several hundred unconfigured IIS installations and a whole bunch of other interesting stuff. The gold mine, the thing that I found that was like 3/4 of my score for SECTF was they had a Juniper VPN appliance you browse to the website and you download the little applet and you run the little applet and the applet connects you to the network. And there was a document on the site for the VPN device that said, click here for a document to help walk you through this because, this many of the people that work there are the business and tech people, and this many of the people that work there are, sales droids that work, with a vest on and a name tag and say, may I help you, sir? So this is a screenshot from the document. This is also a screenshot from the document. This screenshot was funny in particular because it was obfuscated using little white boxes. But if anybody here uses Adobe Acrobat ever, you can open up the thing in Acrobat, highlight the box, and hit delete. So their obfuscation didn't do anything. Like, they didn't edit the picture. They put a little white box in Acrobat over the picture. So I just deleted the box. This tells me their SSID. Badass. I take that to Wiggle. Wiggle is a war driving community. You say, where does this SSID live? And it goes, right there. And it shows you a map. And it shows you all the neighboring SSIDs. Sweet. I'd call out to Sammy Kamkar if he was here because it sort of was inspired by him. But I spent a lot of time Googling as well, and I found tons and tons and tons of PDF files. I should have used FOCA, but I don't know why I didn't. I found software architecture diagrams that readily publicly available on the internet that define how software aspects talk to other software aspects in their environment. This one was a PDF that describes the software architecture for their procurement and payment system, like how they get stuff from people that make stuff, and then how they put it out in the stores and sell it. Sweet, that's good to know. I also found a contractor onboarding tool publicly available to the internet. So if anybody wants to work for like $sign giant retail person, just let me know and we can find a login for this tool and you can all be employees. So that was kind of neat too. That was in a PDF that I found. This is another screenshot from the giant 70-page PDF document that was on the VPN device. There's data and it's leaking all over the floor and I'm up to my ankles at this point, kind of splashing around going, holy crap, where did all this stuff come from? The list goes on and on and on. I found every OS, the document described every operating system that they like to use and is approved by their infrastructure and IT people, every personal firewall that they like and that they will support in IT, every email client, like you name it. Like everything in this doc basically said, here is 95% of what you need to impersonate an employee or an executive for any reason whatsoever. So I spent a lot of time on this, and it sort of got me thinking, well, this was fail, and apparently it's painless fail because they're doing it. This is not a one-off scenario. There's a lot of instances where you have, 90% secure, but there's a document that leaks everything readily available on the internet you can download, or some, gradient between that. Well, I'm not a very good developer, but I've spent a lot of time as a sysadmin, and I really like pipes. I've made, I'm sure everyone in this room has made a 5-line-long deep shell command in a terminal somewhere. So using pipes is kind of neat. You take the output of something, you pipe it into the input of something else. And I'm thinking, I found a lot of stuff in documents. All of this is, I found a Word doc or a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet or some accounting documentation. What can I do with that? Well, let's try some random other companies and see what I get. So take a list of random companies, pipe it into FOCA. FOCA downloads all these documents. The output of FOCA gives you lists of names and users. Cool. What can I do with that? Well, that works great in Maltego. So you take that list, you prepend some text into like a one name per line text file of, say, 700 or 800 names, and you can literally copy paste it directly into Maltego. So when you open Maltego, you see a square of users, and you can select that square of users and right-click and run all transforms, and then go make dinner because it'll take an hour. But when it comes back, you find dirty laundry. What? Wait, what the hell? Dirty laundry? I'm not looking for dirty laundry. I was looking to hack these guys to find out what sort of information they can leak. If they, their entire InfoSec department goes to a bar once a week, or their PR department has this fishing trip that they go on once a quarter or something. What's this crap about Prop 8? What? So this is Oracle. Oracle in Maltego, this was curious. 2 users from Oracle connected via a pastebin link. Interesting. That's a lot juicier than like a bar coupon or like sending somebody a PDF saying, oh, here's the new marketing material that you need to review. And by the way, I'm a personal assistant of blah, 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 and you should open this because I say so. Okay, whoa. I was looking for like bars and restaurants, so to find out where employees hang out and things like that. I had no idea I was going to find like weird, crazy political stuff. That stuff is a lot juicier, and you're going to have a lot higher degree of success using that. Because if you find crazy political people of whatever denomination, and you send them information that pertains to whatever their political affiliation is, they're way more likely to interact with you and open that than they are like, here's a coupon to your favorite bar, or here's a PDF file from another department that you need to open for blah, 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 blah. So it's less like spear phishing, and it's more like using a sniper rifle to do it. That made me happy. Like, that made me probably unhealthy happy more. Like, holy crap. I kind of went nuts. So I started doing massive Maltego transforms. Like this is, I'm pretty sure this was Oracle. This was while it was running. It's about 15 minutes in. There are about 400 to 300 elements in this Maltego transform graph. I went to dinner and I came back later, and then it looked like this. You may not be able, well, it looks better on the projector. There's over 1,000 nodes here. The interesting ones are very apparent, because when you visualize this data and you start looking at relationships based on distance and proximity, I want the one on the left. That looks interesting to me. So let's zoom in. Oh, that's kind of cool. Forums.oracle.com with a whole bunch of different people's names connected to forum.oracle.com. That's kind of cool. Hey, look, there's Barbara Jones. That's one of the Prop 8 people. Now it's starting to get interesting now. So suddenly, attack vectors bubble up out of nowhere. Suddenly, it's not just putting on a UPS uniform and walking into a place anymore. There's an ocean out there, and like we've been playing around in a little dinghy. This is Cisco, so you can see that there are a lot of different elements talking to each other back and forth in Cisco. And you see in the top left there's a bubble with like 6 or 7 little bubbles attached to it. That's what we call a target-rich environment. If you zoom into some of this stuff, like this one, this is really interesting. Either there are 4 employees at Cisco that all got compromised outside of work somehow, or maybe they got compromised in work and their information got leaked to outside of work. I'm not sure what happened, but what I can tell you is that these are 4 employees at Cisco that all somehow got owned. The link in the center is a pastebin link that links credit card information and addresses. So there are people that will find, they'll get a botnet together and they'll start putting together banking information like that and to transmit it from one country to another instead of doing something like sending an email, because there are people watching that. They put it on pastebin and they make it completely public. But there's anonymity. So unless you know the pastebin link, well, you have to know specifically what to search for, and it's, you're looking for a needle in a really, really big haystack. So this one was kind of interesting. This is, Maltego is kind of neat because they added new stuff where you can find EXIF data out of images. So this is what happened when I pointed Maltego at WebSense's Twitter feed. I got a bunch of photos that had GPS and EXIF data in it. And it looks like whoever was running their PR stuff at RSA this year really liked taking photos. So there's several photos there that have GPS coordinates, and the GPS coordinates are all San Francisco. And I was at RSA and I went and shook hands with them. I just think it's really funny that these guys make a DLP product, but it takes me 5 minutes and I can find, oh, sweet, here's what they look like, here's what phone they have, here's the GPS coordinates of where they post pictures. This was an interesting one that I shared with some people. This was when I did a search for Symantec. Symantec yielded several thousand nodes, and this is one of the interesting ones. This is, it's probably 2,000 or 3,000 lines long, maybe longer. It's a gigantic, ridiculous long list of IP tables firewall rules. And if you look, you can see like from the top down, Arbor Networks, Armorize, Tor, Python, more Tor, Anonymizer. I used to work there. That's funny. I should tell Lance. CloudMark, UCSD. Nice. Sophos, more WebSense. This is a firewall list for a black hat bulletproof hosting provider that puts this in front of their servers so that you can, and they seriously say, you can safely run your bad stuff here. At the bottom, okay, so it's something 920 lines long, copyright crime web with an ICQ number. So the bad guys do copyright evilness too. That's kind of funny. Like, oh, I set this up so I can do all my nefarious business, but you can't steal this from me. They're running Zeus botnets that do like fraud behind this, and they're copywriting it. So the guy actually next door, Virus, sent me this. He said, oh, here's what I found when you sent that link out on Twitter. Let's see. We offer you a number of decisions, blah, blah, blah. It's badly translated, but basically says they're a hosting provider. They lease servers, and here are some of the server configs you can get. They have great connectivity to Latvia, Malaysia, and China, and here's where you can get in Russia. And at the very, very bottom here, we also care about your customers and provide a blacklist IP, which will help you hide your projects from many antivirus companies, so, such as Zeus Tracker and many others. So these people are just full on selling, here, put your bad stuff here, and we hide it this way. Okay, well, that was a lot of fun, and I really ADD'd off for a while, but how can I turn this into like a machine where I have an ocean of water? How can I turn that ocean of water into like a pressurized cutter so I can do stuff with it? How can I turn it into a tool? Well, I'm not a dev, but I'm good at command line piping, right? So my thought was, here's your classic scenario, right? You have an attacker, you have some sort of corporate boundary, and you have a whole bunch of victims. Well, classically, you pop a host, and then you pivot inside from one host to another host using like Meterpreter pivoting, right? Well, that's okay, but it's slow, and you have to go one host by one host. I wanted to do this. I wanted to get in and basically be on the LAN as if I was on the LAN with my workstation and just do crazy ARP stuff, right? Well, there's a tool called EvilGrade that you can use, which will, like Ettercap, will find requests leaving the network of software that's trying to do upgrades, and it will intercept those requests and serve back your payloads. So presumably you get on their LAN and you turn on EvilGrade, and sometime around midnight when all their machines decide to phone home so that WinZip can go get its update, you get dozens of shells. So I thought that was kind of cool. Well, the trouble was, EvilGrade's a Perl program. It's written by a guy who's Brazilian. He doesn't speak a lot of good English, and when I asked him about it, he said, yeah, you go do it. You go write the Windows version of this. Oh, okay, thanks, dude. So DerbyCon happened a little while ago, and Kevin Mitnick and Dave Relic did this talk where they talked about new additions to the set tool set, and one of them was what they call the Java repeater. The Java repeater basically is it clones a website, and it says basically for while zero shove this Java applet in your face, and the Java applet is one of the Meterpreter ones. So you can't stop that unless you kill the browser. You have to actually go into Task Manager and kill the browser to make it go away. Otherwise, it will annoy you enough into you just hitting yes, and when you hit yes, you get a shell. So that's kind of the piping, right? So you get a shell, you pipe that to Meterpreter shell. You have to use F-pipes because F-pipes, the Meterpreter reverse port forward only works for local hosts. So if you pop a host and you set up a forward so that any incoming traffic on port 80 on your compromised machine goes to you, it'll only work on localhost. You have to use F-pipes to have outside remote boxes on their LAN hit that port and then come to you. So you can set that up that way. And you can do it with EvilGrade if you can set it up, but set Java repeater seems to be a lot more interesting and effective. You ARP poison your remote LAN, you forward everything on 80 and 443 over to you, and suddenly it's raining shells. So here's the current status. I could really use a couple of devs to help me get this all sorted out. But basically the fail is, like, here's I've been going on and on about all this interesting stuff. I haven't said anything about DLP yet. Well, everything that I've discussed so far, all the interesting stuff that I found and all these Maltego transforms I've been able to do is entirely predicated on the fact there are documents that are floating around from these companies in the thousands that have hundreds of names and emails and software versions and OS versions and things like that. If you spend so much time trying to protect one little piece of IP and you let all this other stuff get to the internet, getting that IP is easy as just compromising the same people using these methods and then getting the IP you want instead of, yeah. So ideally, this can be completely automated. I want to try and somehow set this up so that it's push button. You point it at a Google query, you hit go, and suddenly you get your list of potential targets and all the operating systems that they run. So basically, each one of these companies took me like an hour of work to do. So, and I did maybe 10 of them. So how do we fix it? See, the problem seems to be painless failure. So how do we fix painless failure? Well, painless failure isn't really painless. Look at these guys. I was able to harvest so much information and find out so much stuff about their employees and the way that they operate outside of work that they don't think it's a problem, but it clearly is. So we have to make being secure attractive. We have to make that a goal for people. The easiest thing to do would be to basically poach from Apple. It's really bad timing, but Apple is a company that builds something, and no matter what it is, people will stab each other and froth at the mouth and stay out till midnight at the Apple store to try and get whatever it is that they're selling. So we kind of have to poach that idea. We have to make that, but we have to do it with being secure, right? So when Apple comes out with something, you take a design, think of Apple as a design company. You pour so much money over them that they have more money in their bank than the entire US government, their confidence goes up a little bit and they start making sexy things and people buy these sexy things. So we're hackers, we're good at spoofing things. Spoofing the design would just be more fail. We need to spoof their approach. The design doesn't matter so much if you consider this just a gigantic people hacking exercise. You have to people hack your clients into wanting to be secure. And if you can make it attractive, then they'll want it. So we have to be Mr. Charles. We have to tell them that they're dreaming and that we're here to help because it's the truth. Feel-good security products are just junk food. They make us happy in the short term, but provide little to no value. And in the long term, we get fat and lazy because of them. So go forward, dream bigger, make being secure sexy, make it worth bragging about. If you give your clients a prize to strive for, they'll probably go for it. So dream bigger and have an excellent lunch.